We just wanna travel the world, travel the world.
Welcome, adventurers, to another episode of Our Offbeat Life, where we dive into the stories of individuals forging their own unique, unconventional paths. Today, we're thrilled to have Indira Wislocki, a single mother, full time traveler, and human rights advocate, originally from Argentina. Indira embarked on a life of travel with her autistic son after losing her job during an economic crisis in her home country. What started as a way to stretch her limited resources turned into an enriching journey of self discovery, cultural immersion, and finding freedom for her son to simply be himself. So join us as Indira shares the challenges and triumphs of world schooling a neurodiverse child, building a thriving virtual assistant business on the road, and navigating the subtle nuances of experiencing culture as a traveler rather than a tourist. Her story is a testament to the power of adapting to life's unexpected circumstances and creating a life without traditional boundaries. So, welcome, Indira.
Happy to be here.
Oh, very good. Well, it's good to have you. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Buenos Aires, Argentina right now. I'm from around here, not exactly here, but around. So visiting family and, the usual.
Yes. We spent a lot of time in Buenos Aires recently, so it's kind of fun.
I'm glad. Hope you guys enjoy your time here.
Oh, yes, definitely. Buenos Aires is it's a big town. I preferred our hikes and our adventures in Patagonia than the big city, but it's nice to settle down and get work done when you're in a big area like that.
Right? Gotta
I,
get advantage of the nice internet speed and everything.
yeah, so I'm gonna miss the ice cream, that's for sure.
Oh, God, we have with ice cream here.
And it's affordable. It's so affordable.
Right.
Well, to kick things off, could you share with us what inspired you to embark on full-time traveling lifestyle with your son, especially at that pivotal time in your life?
Well, it was more like it was the best of two options, to be honest. Like we were kind of pushed to it. It's something that I always had wanted to do since I was very young. I always wanted to travel around the world. I actually studied anthropology. I got into it like with the whole Indiana Jones fantasy we had in the 90s. And yeah, things didn't go that way. And back then there was this huge crisis in the country, and I got let go of my job, and my rent contract was about to end. So I had to find a new place and a new job in a country in crisis. So I was like, you know what? The time is now. So I got my severance and used that to buy plane tickets. And yeah, and off we went. But it couldn't be worse than staying here at this point. And yeah, so I I met a guy couch surfing back in 2012. We spent New Year's together with my friends, and we kept texting over the years and everything. And he told me, "You have to move to Thailand. You're gonna love it here. Like I know you. You're gonna love it here." And I was, well, maybe you're right. And so I spent like 5 years since the time he told me that I should do that until we finally did it. And the original plan was that to move to Thailand, but we ended up traveling instead. So it was like a whole turn of events.
Wow, that's an awesome start. That's a very cool start to your story. So from Argentina all the way over to Asia.
Yeah, we get a stop, a 3 months stop in Europe first because it just didn't make sense. Argentina is so far away and like it doesn't seem like it, but the world is big and we are pretty south. So flights from here are not exactly cheap, as I'm sure you know. And yeah, it got pretty bad. So what it made sense for us was to book a cheaper ticket to the UK because it was a direct flight. And with the difference with what we say, we got to spend those 3 months in Europe. because it was the same as flying directly to Thailand, and we get to have 3 months of fun traveling around.
Yeah. Very
The
cool.
magic of being flexible.
Yes. All right. So I like to start out with a little lightning round. So
All right.
water, coffee, soda, or tea?
Oh, coffee. Mate,
Coffee.
actually, but coffee.
All right. Yeah. There's a lot of folks out there who have never been to Argentina. They don't know what mate
Right.
is. Can you tell us?
So this is kind of a tea kind of thing. We put the herbs here in this thing that we actually call mate, and then you pour the water and drink from the straw. We actually pass it around, which is not very hygienic, as you have said before. But it's tradition, kind of bitter, an acquired taste, you might say.
Yeah. We spent like 8 months in Argentina, and everywhere there's mate, mate, mate. Billboards with people holding it in one arm and the cup in the other. It's a thing, everybody. So if you go to Argentina, definitely try out the mate. It's my one
Right.
regret from being there for so long. I was too afraid of it getting sick, and so I didn't try the mate the way everybody else does. So, all right, cat or dog?
Cats.
Okay.
Dogs require too much attention, and you can actually, like, I know you can, but traveling with a dog, God, yeah, sounds like so much work.
It's a lot of work to travel with a dog. Yeah, I think I've got somebody else on this season of the podcast. She travels with a dog. I can't wait to talk to her about that as well.
That sounds like so much fun, like a kid and a dog. God,
Yeah. Oh,
I admire them.
yes, me too. All right, pool or beach?
Oh, the beach, like hands down. It comes down to what beach, but if I get to choose, for sure the beach.
Okay. City or country?
Country, can't stand cities. It's too noisy, and no matter how small it is, there's always too many people. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. All right. Would you rather have unlimited free flights or a magical RV that that can take you anywhere?
Free flights are free flights. I love the airports. Like I know people don't usually like them. Of course, there are airports I hate, but I think the whole experience of being at the airport, that time and place, I will give it up for a year.
Nice. Okay. And if you could hop into a time machine, visit any historical event or era with your family, when and where would you go?
R1. Oh God, God, that's a hard one. Because I had to be with a kiddo, and that's usually not fun. Probably the 70s with all the protests against the war in Vietnam and that sort of thing. I feel like at least it will be colorful. I don't know. Everything else sounds kind of dangerous, but I feel like the hippie chill vibe will go with us.
All right. Hippie chill vibe it is. All right. All right. Now, going into some of your initial challenges when you got started, transitioning into full-time travel, I mean, that's a significant change for anyone. So what were some of the initial challenges that you faced, particularly considering your son's autism diagnosis at the time?
Yeah, well, we only recently had the diagnosis, so we didn't know much about how to manage all the changes for him and all that. And one of the initial problems we had because we started hopping through Europe, as one does, you know how it is. You only spend, I don't know, 3 to 7 days in each place, and then you move on. And then in the middle, we decided to walk the way to Santiago de Compostela. And it's 700 kilometers hike through northern Spain. And you walk every day. You wake up, you walk 20 kilometers, you rest, and that's how it is every single day. So there was no stability for my kid because we were somewhere different every day with different people. And so
What age was he at that time?
it was 4, almost 5.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he was kind of famous. Like everybody doing the Camino that summer knew him. We will walk into town and someone would say, he's the 5-year-old who's walking. And that was pretty fun. But yeah, changing location so often was one of the biggest challenges we had. It came a time that we were like, well, we have to stop. Like, let's go to a place where we don't care about sightseeing and just stay there and work, and get stuff done and get some rest. But yeah, and that's where we learned we needed to slow travel because yeah, it got too stressful of booking places for the next day and trying to like we were flexible, but you had to plan and buying last minute tickets everywhere. That got really stressful. We realized we need to plan better. Just going with the flow. I mean, it's nice, but it's not sustainable on the long run. We were so tired, so tired,
Yeah.
and Ali was so stressed. Everything was so new to him. He didn't have like a favorite cup or whatever. Those small things.
Oh,
So yeah, that was kind of the first thing.
okay. So looking back on it, then the fast travel doesn't sound like it was the best thing that he enjoyed at the time.
Yeah, it was too much. Like, and it was our first time in Europe. Like, I think I can do better now, but back then, first time.
How has your traveling changed over the years?
Well, I have more resources now. Like I was so new, and in Argentina, it's not a very popular lifestyle. So even though I had been preparing for it for years, like, and I knew a lot of families that do the same. I don't know if you know the guys from Magia en el Camino. They are like pretty famous here. They are so cool. This couple, he's a magician, and they are super cute. And they also travel with their kid and I was in touch with them. I heard the stories, but it's different when you do it yourself. And yeah, and you just roll with the punches. So I think that like Facebook groups became my go-to for everything. Like there's the information. Google doesn't know anything about what we need. No, no at all. So if you're Googling something right now, give up, join a Facebook group. And yeah, and also finding community because it was very lonely in the beginning. We were kind of isolated and you get sick of each other no matter how much like the people you're traveling with, if you're there 24/7. Um it gets kind of hard.
It- Yeah, definitely can get kind of hard. So socializing is important. What did you do to end up socializing a little bit more as you went along?
Well, I in the beginning I did couch surfing, which was nice. Back then, it was still a platform we can deal with. Right now, things have changed a lot. And then I did connect with, in Europe, friends of friends. A lot of Argentinians have double nationality because our ancestors are from either Spain or Italy. So we got in touch with friends of friends that were living there, and it was nice, seeing familiar faces again and listening to some songs. We got homesick pretty quick. Then it was over time, but in the beginning it was really hard. And yeah, that's what we did mostly for socializing. Maybe people from Facebook groups from home, other feminists. I'm an activist, so we spend a lot of time in those spaces there. But it was complicated, especially for Ali, because we took him to the park to play with other kids, and in some places it was okay and it was fun, but he will get pretty overwhelmed and social interactions are already weird. Like even if you're neurotypical, when you socialize with people from other countries, you have, cultural differences. And it was the same for my little one.
Yes, definitely. But did the language barrier ever bother him with communicating with other kids?
Well, kind of. It depends on where. He was nonverbal when we left. Like he did say this is very common on the spectrum that kids start, babbling, talking when they are about a year old, a year and a half, and then they suddenly stop. And some kids, go on, but some go nonverbal. They just point or say very few words, have very limited vocabulary. So that's what he had going on before we left. His Spanish was like, limited. And traveling around, he got to, we were still speaking Spanish with him, but everyone around him spoke English. So it was like that. Everything was in English. I was working, speaking English all day on my meets and video conference. So he picked it up eventually. And he now speaks English. So when we are here back home, he it's weird. Like he knows in Spanish, he can understand it, and he can actually speak it much better now, but his English is better. So when communicating with kids here, kids just look at him awkwardly, like, what are you saying? Some make fun of him, like they will make fun of any other child speaking gibberish to them. Some know very little English from school and try to practice. And
Oh,
that is very cute that they're really proud of being able to do that. And I find it kind of funny, but overall, I don't know. It's nice. In Thailand, for example, kids have also very limited English from school, so they get along just fine. But I don't know. I think it's a friendlier place for children.
yeah. When we were in Thailand, my son was really young at the time as well, and went off and just played with other kids. They didn't speak, they just played.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't. I think it's because the expectation. I think that kids here look at my kid and they don't see him to be much visibly different, so they expect him to speak Spanish with him, while Thai kids see a foreigner and they are used to it. And they're like, well, I won't be able to communicate with this kid. Let's just play. Let's get down to it. I think kids here just get frustrated.
Yeah, very. I can see that happening, yeah. So, one reason I wanted to talk to you is because this is a unique situation. I have not met a lot of families traveling with autism in the family, and my own family, we have autism in the family as well. So I'm familiar with the lifestyle and that the kids have a lot of needs. So you didn't diagnose it until recently. So how has traveling been beneficial for your son? Or do you think there's any negatives that have been along that route?
Well, there is no way of knowing, maybe I could have made different choices, but I did what I did. So we kind of tried, like we got the first no diagnosis is firm after they are 6. So because he was younger, he got a preliminary diagnosis before we left, and we had him on speech therapy because that was the main issue for him for, I don't know, about a year before we left, but we didn't see much improvement. And I think it was just the overall stressful situation. And I think traveling was really beneficial for him because he got access to other cultures and other forms of communications. Living here, we talk a lot. We are strong, we have strong opinions about stuff, and people tend to yell a lot for no reason. So that was very kind to him. And I think that being in other places and finding something that worked for him, because after English is a language that I can understand, and that's good enough for me to communicate with my kid. If he wants to, if Chinese was easier for him, I learned. I don't care. I just wanted to be able to speak some language known to humanity. And, I think that was very good for him. And it was good to experience kinder places. I don't know. I always go back to Thailand because it's my favorite place in the world. But I found that people were kind of to children in general and to my kids specifically over there. Overall, people don't bump into you in the streets like they do here, or, children are not an annoyance or a nuisance, but, some part of the community that is just there and they can exist freely. While here, he had a lot of expectations that as an autistic person are hard to, comply with. So, sitting still at a restaurant, no screaming, no running around, all that stuff, waking up at certain hours. It was a lot for her. Well, in other places, kids can run around freely, or, maybe not big cities. We were living in Buenos Aires, and Buenos Aires, it is a big city. So, public transportation takes forever. And
Yeah.
you have, it's so annoying. There are lines for everything. Things are more modern now, but before we left, I had to actually go somewhere to pay my bills, and the lines were endless. And just being there with a kid, it was so frustrating. Existing was frustrating for him, which I can relate to because it's frustrating for everyone, I guess. But you just put up with it because you understand why you have to do it. But for him, it didn't make no sense at all. And so, yeah, I think being able to see kind of places and exist as a child and be able to, explore and experiment and run around, it was very good for him.
It's
Very good.
amazing that you're able to like change your whole lifestyle for your child. This is something that parents say they'll do. We want to be able to communicate with our kids. We want to give them everything, let them be themselves and grow into who they want to be. And you found a way to make it work for you. I love that. So that's amazing.
It was a lot of work, and not everything is pink color, of course, but we do our best. I think all of us parents do our best. We just want them to be okay.
Definitely. We all try to do our best, that's for sure. So now, while on the move, how have you navigated the need for any therapy or support services for your son? Are there any strategies you found particularly effective?
Well, I tried. I kind of tried. We did online therapy for a bit pre-pandemic. That didn't go really well. Like the evaluation we did before we left the country, the specialist was pretty kind. We told them that we were going to leave the country, so they took the time to advise what therapies and resources we could have at our disposition to learn how to manage the situation. There is an association here that has courses for parents on how to deal with everyday stuff and how to better support their kids with practical tools that you can use to help them regulate themselves. So I did that because online therapy wasn't working. So I was like, well, if I'm going to be a teacher, I might as well be a therapist. Uh, which I know is not the same. Of course, therapist work is very important, but I don't think my kid was ready for therapy back then. I
Yeah.
think he needed to be able to regulate himself first. Like he's been doing therapy now that we are visiting here to reinforce some stuff. And he's doing much better than he could have ever done before because now he has an interest in it, and when they are small, there is no point because they don't want to do it. The demand avoidance is real. But yeah, that was kind of how we managed therapy and school. Like I homeschool, but when we spend, longer time somewhere, I will enroll him in school or some sort of activity or program. In Thailand, he attended a public school for 6 months. He did first grade,
Oh,
and yeah, it was like he did well. Like kids, the first years, they don't do much in school. They learn how to write and how to read, and they nap and have lunch. That's
yeah.
basically it. They play around. And it was a really good opportunity for him to socialize with other children on a daily basis. He learned Thai, like he can write. I just can't. But he took it up real quick. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't felt the need for therapy up until recently. And I think we're done. Like he has made some progress, and I'm happy with that. But I prioritize, the place where he's at being friendly over more specialized help, because I think the help he needs is to deal with the frustration of living a reality that is not his. Like I know a lot of kids need this stuff, and maybe he will too if we were to stay in one place. But I don't think his lifestyle needs him to put up with all this and learn those skills.
Yeah.
He doesn't need them. He
Yeah.
cannot tie his shoes, but he can go through airport security just fine. So That's priorities.
Where in the world do you think that he has felt the most like himself?
Cambodia for sure. During lockdown, when lockdown first started, we were on an island called Koran in Cambodia, and they closed the island like pretty early on. We just got there, and the next day they shut down the island. No boats can come in or out. The police was controlling the boats when we were to pick up food on the mainland. It was hard, and we were like 200 people on the island, which is a huge island, and there are no cars or vehicles over there. So we were just there at the beach doing, I mean, I was working, but Kilo was doing nothing because there was no school, no nothing. But there was also no COVID for us because we were 200 people and we were shut down. So
Uh,
there was no way for the virus to come, and he didn't have to wear masks, and he was just all day playing with the kids in the street. It was so 90s. I loved it. It would be like 2 p.m. and all kids were just sitting on the shade of a tree playing around and talking. It was, yeah, he was so comfortable back then.
oh, that sounds amazing. That draws me back to the way I grew up, the same way, like you said, in the 90s. Yeah, just
Yeah.
outside enjoying all day long.
Right, just sitting there in the corner playing ball in the street. No cars around. It was so safe. I didn't have to worry. He could just run free.
Yeah. Well, there's probably some people listening to this that like can't wrap their brains around that nowadays. So let your kid just be that free outside. But I mean, Cambodia and especially a little community like that, it's so different and it's open and the people are very friendly. I remember Cambodia having like they were like all about the children. Children were like put on this high pedestal, could do whatever they want, and everybody would fawn over the children and parent the children for you if you weren't around. It was amazing.
Yeah, I loved it. We used to go have dinner at this local restaurant, and the waitresses were crazy about my kid. We would walk in, and they were like, "Oh, Ali, Ali," and they would pick him up and take him back to play with the other kids of the owners, and it was so nice, so nice. It's a
Yeah.
big contrast to Western places, where kids are, people get mad at you if your kid is screaming in the street and they tell you, hey, how bad mother you are. I know that. Well, I found that people there are actually helpful. It was a great place for us.
Cool. Well, I'm also a teacher and I know you homeschool. Tell me about that educational journey. How has it been so far homeschooling, world schooling?
Well, it's been fun. In the beginning, Ali didn't talk, but he picked up writing and reading right away on his own. Like, I never had to actually teach him anything. I don't know how his brain works. It's a
Yeah.
mystery for me. So we didn't focus on that much. We did some reinforcement of that at first and focus on giving him, materials and more of the motricity, ability kind of stuff that per school when you learn how to properly manage scissors and that sort of thing. And then we incorporated the places we were visiting when we were in Europe. We went to, all the big classics so he could remember from cartoons and that sort of thing. And, explain because you get to see pretty old stuff in Europe. So he was very intrigued and he had weird interests. He was amazed by simple stuff like stairs and that sort of thing. And of course, languages, we did work a lot on that. We like to learn a couple words on the language where we're visiting, just to go shopping. Like, hi, thank you, I'm sorry, count to 10, and, smile. So that's basically what we did every time we got somewhere new. And then, we focus on more the architectural pieces of things, very hands-on situation, because there is no way I can sit my kid down and give him a curriculum and be like, well, today we're going to learn about the history of Peru. That's not going to happen. So Worldschooling has been a very hands-on experience for him to be like, where the romance, and they live there, and it, actually get him to see the stuff because abstract ideas are too much to wrap your head around sometimes. So yeah, that's what we've been working on. And then when he was in school, where he was in school, but very short periods. He was in my classroom once. I was teaching English in a rural school in Cambodia, and I had 5 kids and my kiddo in the classroom. It was a lot of fun. He will help me with the English lessons and draw on the board and help the other kids. It was really cute.
Oh, that
I
sounds
think
really
that's a
good.
valuable experience, to learn how to teach. Yeah. I, I
Sometimes
think,
learning is through teaching too. I get that as a teacher. I learn a lot by
yeah.
sometimes teaching a whole new subject that I didn't know before.
Oh, yeah. When I started teaching English, like I just speak English. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. And I didn't really like formally study. I learned like, playing video games or watching friends, like one does. And in China, I was like going through the program, and it was like, oh, well, today I have to teach about the order or how you have to place the adjectives. Like, there is an order for that, like color, shape, whatever, size. And I was like, I didn't know it was true. And then I started, because I just do it. So I started listing things in my mind. And I was like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. But I never thought about it. If I didn't have to teach it, I would have never learned. It was just natural.
Well, at this point, probably some of our listeners are like, "How does she make money while she's traveling? Is it just teaching everywhere she's going?" Uh, so you obviously you said you told me prior to this conversation that you started with very limited resources. So how have you transitioned to this lifestyle, running your own business, financial stability, all of it? How have how has this evolved for you?
Well, it was quite a thing because, like I said, when we left, the country was in a crisis and I lost my job. So in the beginning, we were on with my severance, like double the plane tickets and those first 3 months in Europe. And I can travel with very, very little resources. Like we were couch surfing, visiting friends. We will eat in the back of the supermarkets and, just have very limited meals out. We will do the self-guided excursions, that sort of stuff. We were never into the big sites, museums. Like I love them, but walking around with Ali in a museum is not my idea of fun. So yeah, so those big expenses were mostly covered for or figured out. And then, yeah, we were living off that. And then we were in Spain and we were in Granada and planning to go to Madrid, buy our tickets to go to Thailand. And we still had some backup for that. And the plan was to teach in Thailand. So that was kind of it. And oh, God. So I was traveling with cash because the situation in Argentina, you know how it is. We have a lot of limitations on what we do with our credit cards or debit cards or how it works, exchange rates. It's a nightmare. It's not easy. So I was traveling with a lot of cash, which was stolen in Granada bus station. It was awful. I had to, oh God, it was a nightmare. Like I went to the police and they were like, well, and yeah. So that really cut down our budget by a lot. And we
Mhm.
got to Madrid anyway. I had some money on my Argentinian bank account as a backup. So I sent that money to my kid's grandma, who sent it to a friend so I could pick it up there. And we had money to buy the tickets to Thailand. But we got there with like 20 euros and a credit card with 6,000 pesos, which was
Oh,
like about $200 back then.
yeah,
I think a
yeah.
bit less. Yeah, it was bad. But we managed. Thailand was cheap. We got there. We got on Airbnb. We walked around, signed a place, and tried to find a job. And then it was so easy, so easy. It took me like a week to find a job there. And yeah, it was not the best paying job ever, but I was broke, and this girl from an agency, Nina, God bless her, she called and she was like, "Well, if you can be in Bangkok, I can get you to start on Monday in Phuket." And she put me in a nice hotel with a kid, find a school for Ali, pays for our permanent deposit and everything, and gave us an advance to manage. So yeah, like a month after that, we were back in our feet and traveling around on long weekends and such, and taking, holidays and all the good stuff. And from there, I spent some time teaching in Thailand. Then we went to Cambodia, and then I took a program to work as a VA. I heard about it. I was in crisis. Like, I love teaching to my own kid. And I do love all my students that I had. I love them so much, but it's a lot. It's a lot of work. Teaching 30 kids, especially if you care about the children and you want to make sure they learn and everything, but very limited resources, is very, very hard. And you want to do everything for them, but I'm just a person, and it was so tiring. And so I started looking for other things I could do, and I was on this Phuket expats Facebook group, and there was a guy looking for someone to translate some documents. So I offered, and it became an ongoing thing. So I was teaching and doing this for this guy, and we had to go back to Thailand. And then I took this program to start working as a virtual assistant. And I just couldn't believe it. Like, that was the beginning of it. I got a client within the first 4 days, which of course wasn't enough to live by, but it was a start. I started, learning more stuff and how to manage. And then lockdown, COVID came, and COVID changed everything because I was doing okay. Like, I was able to replace my salary as a teacher on the first month. So that was fine, but it was not enough to do what I wanted to do. And COVID changed everything because before that, people was very wary of working online and hiring people that were traveling around, even though digital nomads have been around for a while now. There were too many freelancers and very few clients, but COVID changed that, and suddenly people knew what Zoom is. I remember having to explain to clients, hey, you have to go here and log in. I didn't have to do that anymore. That's when I had most work. Everyone was transitioning their businesses online, and there was a lot of work.
Wow. So definitely. So COVID helped open up the awareness to online workers like yourself.
Yeah,
So,
it was great. I'm sorry, but it was great for business. Not in our personal lives, not
right.
travel wise for sure, but for business, it was great. It was
Yes,
great.
definitely. I hear you. Yeah. So, hey, it's important sometimes to try to find a silver lining so you don't focus on just the negatives. There's a lot of negatives that obviously came from that time period and are still happening in certain places. But yeah, it made something happen so that you could turn things around now. And now you've got this new life, this new virtual VA business going. How are you managing your work life single parent juggling going on?
Balance, what is that? Am I right? Yeah, I want to say it's balanced. Like, it's balanced if you look at the overall picture, but I have to compartmentalize and do what I have to do depending on where we are. So if we are somewhere new, we have to listen to me. We want to go sightseeing, and it's just enjoying the place where we are at. And other times it's slower, so I get to focus on work. So yeah, it has like focus times instead of being an everyday balance. I don't know if I'm making any sense. So
I get the idea. I mean, every day is a little different. It's hard to have a full balance along those lines, especially when your child has certain needs and your work has certain needs. So,
oh
like,
yeah.
how is it evolving for you?
Well, we have to manage. I learned a lot on the way too, especially when it comes to work. Like I didn't do fixed hours anymore. I used to work with a company that wanted me to be on call during EST hours, which in Thailand meant 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. And I was dying. So I learned that. I learned my lesson, and that allowed me to better structure my days. Like not being on call is a must. And but yeah, right now what I try to do is to have all my calls on one day and have, I don't know, work all my stuff 3 days a week maybe. And then I get to spend time with a kid and actually pay attention to him because otherwise your mind needs to work. So I
Yeah.
get that out of the way first. And then I can focus on what I needs and all the good stuff.
So then how do you interweave in some of these cultural experiences into your life? Like we travel to see and experience. So how do you do that? How do you interweave in your cultural experiences along the way?
Well, I learned that I learned quickly that I don't like very touristic spaces, and there are a couple Facebook groups. I always come back to that. In the beginning, when I was teaching, it was very easy because I had coworkers, other teachers, other expats, local teachers, and all that. So it was very easy. Um, but after that, I was kind of long in it. So yeah, I started using those Facebook groups that we have good ones like Host a Sister. That is a great group because it's a very safe space for women and women that travel with their kids to see, a friendly sister somewhere else, and they are a very supportive group. And it's always nice to have someone local to show you around. It's what couch surfing used to be, which was always what I did when I was visiting someone new to really immerse myself in the culture. Yeah. So Facebook groups, mostly attending events where both expats and locals attend, and mostly living in not touristy neighborhoods. Like, well, you've been to Buenos Aires. I would never stay in Palermo, for example. And yeah, if you go to Thailand, I don't stay in Machit or Castle Road. I just, go to a neighborhood, kind of neighborhood, which usually gives you, the whole experience, and making local friends always makes it easier.
I stayed in Palermo once for part of our stay in Buenos Aires, and yeah, it's very touristy, very busy. We also stayed in another area of Buenos Aires. I can never remember the name of it though, but it was way more local, and I loved it so much more.
Right? It's all about experience. How are you supposed to experience a culture if you're staying somewhere that looks, has the same hipster Starbucks vibe that everywhere else? But yeah, and also I think that Ali allowed me to have experiences that I didn't have traveling on my own because everyone was so friendly with him, because he has no shame or idea of what private property is and that sort of thing. We got to meet a lot of friends. Yeah. So Ali will, oh God, he would crash weddings. Yeah. And yeah, we crashed a couple weddings. Sometimes weddings in some countries take place in the street. They put these tents in the street. They have like a neighbor party. So we will crash a couple of those. And then, in Asia, especially, people just call him around to say hi or take a selfie or whatever. And we were invited to places and houses just because, which will never happen if I was on my own. Like, my kid is the durable ticket to meeting new people. It's not an introvert like
Yeah.
myself, so that helps.
So then, what advice do you have to give other parents, whether they have autistic children or not, who might be considering a similar lifestyle or might be hesitant to take the leap into this lifestyle?
Well, like nothing is going to be perfect. Like every lifestyle has their challenges. After all, we all live in the same world. I don't know, unless you're a millionaire, there's no way around it. You have to work. You have to take care of your kid. you can make it as easier or as hard as you want if you have the resources and control with a nanny. I certainly recommend it, but it's not necessary. Like this is not something only rich people can do. It's I know people from all backgrounds that do this, and there is always a way. The way is not always going to be comfortable, but you have to weigh your priorities and see what is more important to you. And when you do take the leap, it's so freeing, the
Yeah.
feeling. I could never go back to having so much stuff that I don't need, all the plane tickets I can buy with the stuff that I don't need to buy anymore. It's not about the money. Traveling around, it's way cheaper than living somewhere full time, honestly, especially if you slow travel. And like our kids' childhood, it's short and it flies by. I know it's a cliche saying it, but it does fly by. And being able to see them grow and share time with them instead of spending 8 hours every day at the office, um it really outweighs all the difficulties you may have.
Yeah, definitely. It really does.
Wow.
If you don't mind me asking, like, what kind of budget do you live off of? Minimum, maximum type situation?
It depends on where we're at, but excluding plane tickets, I'd say we spend between 1 and 3Ks depending on where we are. Like in Southeast Asia, of course, most places are cheaper, so we can get by on 1K easily. Of course, other places require a bigger budget, especially if it's the first time we go, we spend more because we want to, visit new places and
Yep,
such. But if we've been a couple times, it's everyday living.
definitely. And how do you prefer to get around when you do? Do you fly from place to place? Do you bus, train? What's your preferred method?
I love trains, but they are not available everywhere. So we usually just fly. Spending too many hours with Ali on the bus is not ideal. And airports are so much fun for him, so we try to do that, and it's faster. We like to get from point A to point B as fast as we can. Kind of anxious people, but yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, now I just want to take a couple of seconds. Let's do a little fun trivia.
Okay, but bear with me, I suck at this.
We'll do a couple. We'll see if we can keep it to areas that maybe you've been. You said you traveled around Europe a bit, so let's try this. In which church in Rome did you find amazing ceiling painted with imagery that depicts scenes from the book of Genesis?
Florence.
What chapel is it? Do you
Oh,
remember?
the 16th chapel.
Yeah, the
There we
Sistine
go.
Chapel. Very good. One for one. All
Good.
right. In which city is the Louvre Museum located?
Oh, Paris.
There we go. Very
For that
cool.
easy on me, thank you for that.
Which country in Europe has the most castles?
The most castles. That's the UK.
This one surprised me. It's actually the Czech Republic. 930 castles.
900 castles.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, I've
All
been
right.
there. I didn't realize there were so many.
Oh, yeah. So very, very, a lot.
Right.
All right. What is the name of the famous canal in Venice?
The famous what? Sorry.
The famous canal in Venice.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You got me
Most people,
there. I hated Venice with a passion, to be
oh,
honest.
really?
Yeah.
Ah,
Worst place on earth.
really? Why? Why?
I don't know. It was just so annoying. It was so crowded, so hard to get to, so expensive. It was not worth it. Not worth
Really?
your money for sure.
Okay. So, and that was the Grand Canal.
It cannot. That makes sense.
All those gondolas and everything. Did you ever get a chance to go out on one of the gondolas while you were there?
Oh yeah, there's one that goes from the airport.
The airport? I gotta
Yeah,
go.
so yeah.
All right. Let's do one more. How about which European country is often referred to as the Emerald Isle?
Scotland?
Not Scotland. Try one more.
Ireland? I don't
Ireland.
know. There we go.
Emerald Isle, yes. All the green.
I was thinking of the hills.
All the hills, yes. That would be cool. But very cool. All right. So
What are they?
to kind of sum up, what are your future plans first off?
Well, we're going back to Southeast Asia. We are planning to have some sort of a home base for a bit and see if we can open a business there. Passive income, here we go. But yeah, that's kind of the plan for this year. Establish ourselves there and be able to travel around being in a city with a much better airport. And yeah, maybe summers in Europe. We'll see.
Very cool. Maybe we'll have to have you back on after you got your business up and going. You can tell everybody how that went.
Oh, that would be fun. I love to.
All right. And is there a message that you'd like to share with the world about living a non-traditional lifestyle, especially with your son? Or what would it be? What would your message be?
I think I should say people that I think we should put our efforts into being kinder. I think that's the main problem with the world out there. Either if you're schooling or not, I think the world needs to be a kinder place in general. We still have issues. We all have problems, but being mean to each other is not helping. And we gotta remember that people are just people, and they have their same life and issues like everybody else. It's not like the other person is there being their best self, and we're here suffering and being the worst. People are just people like us.
People are just people. Just be nice. I
People.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Indra, for being on today. This has been amazing. You've got a great story. It sounds like you're living your best life. So,
That's better, but yeah.
but yeah, it's been amazing talking to you. I hope to one day meet you in person. We're going back to Southeast Asia soon too. Uh,
Great. You're so
so,
fast there.
but again, thank you for being on today. I'm sure our listeners out there enjoyed your story. Is there a way they could get in touch with you if they wanted to, or if any of them need VA work?
They can reach out to me. I'd rather have them on my personal Instagram rather than my business page. And know that I don't like to get all businessy. But you can follow me on Instagram. Feel free to message me. I love meeting other Worldschoolers from around the world. And yeah, just reach out. You have my Instagram.
We'll put that in the show notes so everybody can find that. Or if you're watching on YouTube, just look in the description down below. Yeah. So again, thank you
Great.
very much for your time. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's been great.
All right. Take care, everybody.
What an inspiring conversation with Indira Wislocki. Her journey from Argentina to embracing a life of full-time travel with her autistic son is a powerful reminder that our greatest challenges can open doors to incredible opportunities for growth and fulfillment. Indira's willingness to shed conventional expectations and immerse herself and her son in diverse cultures allowed them to find communities where they could truly thrive. Her ability to pivot professionally, building a successful virtual assistance business during the pandemic, is a testament to her resilience and adaptability. Indira's parting message of striving for kindness towards one another resonates deeply in a world that often prioritizes conformity. See, her family story invites us to celebrate our unique paths and embrace the beauty of our differences. If you'd like to connect with Indira, follow her on Instagram at Matadinana or visit her website, sororityassistant.com, both of which are in the show notes down below. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast, Our Offbeat Life,
for more inspiring stories of unconventional living. Thank you, Indira, for sharing your remarkable journey with us here today. Your wisdom and courage are truly inspirational.
We just wanna see something bigger than us, to see and smell and taste something completely new. We just wanna travel the world, the world, the world, travel.